For many, the choice to stay in their own home represents a hard-won victory for personal peace and clarity. However, the silence of an empty house often masks a psychological erosion that few families acknowledge until it is too late. We frequently treat aging in place as a static status to be secured, and physical vulnerability that makes independent living impossible. The autonomy matrix maps intentional daily effort against true independence. Seniors often start in the top left quadrant, enjoying high autonomy but applying little effort. Without daily friction, they slide toward the vulnerable zone. Sustained independence requires structured work across social, physical, and mental routines. Lasting autonomy requires a recurring psychological tax paid in small daily increments of effort. The first of these maintenance domains is the social and emotional tax. The mindset of not needing anyone anymore feels like strength, but total social withdrawal quietly starves the brain of the external stimulation it needs to stay sharp. You must schedule micro-connections, a single phone call or a brief conversation with a neighbor, to provide the mental friction that keeps a mind from turning inward. This is particularly difficult for those raised to bottle up feelings or hide sadness to avoid appearing burdensome. Externalizing your emotions through writing, prayer, or a trusted confidant is a mandatory maintenance task that keeps your emotional resilience intact. In this table, we track the cost of living alone. For the social domain, the input is consistent interaction, while the trade-off is the expenditure of precious social energy. Maintaining social ties acts as a mandatory psychological workout, preserving the very mental faculties that allow you to stay independent. The second domain covers your physical environment and the specific risks of the unwatched body. When no one is around to witness your routine, it becomes easy to skip a meal or ignore a dull pain that needs medical attention. Proactive solo living requires creating your own accountability for daily movement and nutrition, even when you feel no immediate urge to do so. Beyond the body, you must also audit the physical house, which can silently transform into a series of obstacles as your mobility changes. These safety audits, checking floor grips, lighting dark hallways, and posting emergency numbers, force you to acknowledge that a single fall can end your time in this house instantly. The physical domain requires strict safety audits. As shown in the table, the trade-off is the emotional weight of acknowledging and preparing for your own physical vulnerabilities. Living alone successfully demands more discipline and environmental awareness than living with others, simply because you are your own only safety net. The third domain is the cognitive engine, which handles your sense of focus and future planning. A silent house often leads to an idle mind, which the brain tends to fill with regret and loops of past losses. Relying on memories for fulfillment effectively traps you in the past, stripping your current life of its purpose. This can lead to purpose bankruptcy, where life loses its color because you no longer see a way to be useful to others. To prevent this, you must seek out difficult learning tasks or find ways to mentor younger people, keeping your perspective oriented toward the future. For the cognitive engine, the input is forward-looking purpose. As the table notes, the trade-off is the need to abandon the myth that retirement should be an era of total passivity. A busy mind ages much slower than a silent one. Staying useful is your best defense against cognitive decline. This decision tree helps evaluate your current trajectory and identify the critical next step for your situation. For those valuing independence above all, the priority is over-indexing on safety audits and mental friction to prevent a sudden loss of autonomy. Avoiding these daily efforts essentially guarantees the eventual state of dependency you are trying to prevent. If recently alone and ruminating on the past, implement a new learning task or mentorship role to anchor yourself in the present. For caregivers, this framework provides a way to audit a parent's actual inputs, like nutrition or social habits, rather than relying on verbal reassurances. Basing the conversation on structural sustainability helps remove the guilt and emotional friction that often complicate family check-ins. Solitude serves as a firm foundation for strength only when it is treated as an active, daily responsibility. Maintaining a solo household while aging is a complex logistical operation that requires constant, daily attention. Staying in place successfully requires a high level of daily activity and foresight to manage isolation risks. Grounded. Aging with your autonomy completely intact is an active choice made through the daily habits you keep today. Audit your daily routines now to ensure that your home remains a place of strength for years to come.